I watched Olivia glide into the office, her heels clicking like a metronome, demanding attention without saying a word. "James, do we have the latest report for the board?" she asked, voice smooth, effortless. I held the stack of papers, pretending not to notice the flicker in her eyes when she spotted Lucas hovering near the window. "Yes, Olivia. Right here," I said, handing them over. "Everything's up to date, just like you asked." She glanced at Lucas, smiled in that way that made people forget their own names. "Thanks, James. Lucas, make yourself useful and check the investor emails before lunch, will you?" "Yes, ma'am," Lucas replied, cheerful, but I noticed the tiny smirk when she wasn't looking. I stayed quiet, watching as always. 5 years of working with Olivia had taught me the subtle language of her eyes, the half-smiles, the pauses that spoke louder than any word. She's perfect, everyone says. And she is, if you ignore the cracks that keep appearing when no one is looking. "James, I need a summary of the last 3 campaigns on my desk by 2, Olivia said. "Already done. I printed copies for you," I replied. She raised an eyebrow. "Efficient as always. I don't know what I'd do without you." I nodded, but my mind wandered to the tension between her and Lucas. She doesn't realize how transparent she's becoming. "He's too new," I muttered under my breath. "Too new?" Olivia's voice snapped me back. "James, did you say something?" "Nothing, just thinking out loud," I said, forcing a smile. Her eyes narrowed for a second. Something dangerous, almost predatory. I had learned that look: don't challenge it, don't interrupt. Just wait. She'd move on in seconds. And she did. Lucas came over, leaning against the desk casually. "Hey, James, can you help me figure out the investor spreadsheet? I'm still getting the hang of it." I glanced at Olivia. She was scrolling through emails, pretending not to notice. I sighed. "Fine. Sit." I pulled up the spreadsheet. "See here, these numbers don't match last quarter's projections. If we adjust the allocations here." He listened carefully, nodding, but I caught the way his fingers drummed on the table like he was planning something else. I didn't trust him, yet everyone else saw nothing but charm. "You're good at this," he said. "I'll remember it for next time." "Just focus on learning," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. I didn't need him noticing my suspicion. Olivia looked up suddenly. "James, make sure Lucas doesn't fall behind. He's talented, but he needs guidance." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. She glanced at him again. "That look, the one that says she's deciding if he's worth more than me." I cleared my throat. "I'll keep an eye on him." She nodded. "Good. That's why you're indispensable." I wanted to laugh bitterly. Indispensable. For 5 years, I'd held her empire together while she charmed the world. And now, a new player is being positioned to wedge himself between us. Later, as I filed emails, I overheard her phone conversation. "Yes, I'll handle it personally. Don't worry about anyone else knowing. Lucas is the only one I trust with this." My stomach dropped. I pretended to focus on my screen, but my mind raced. She doesn't even realize how dangerous this is, for me, for her. "The perfect illusion," I muttered. "That's all it is." Lucas popped his head in again. "Everything okay?" I gave him a polite nod. "Just another day in paradise." He chuckled, unaware of how fragile this paradise really is. Olivia's laughter echoed from her office. Smooth, practiced, perfect. But behind it, cracks. Tiny, almost invisible cracks that I notice. And I always notice. I leaned back in my chair, letting my mind wander through every interaction, every glance, every word. Olivia Harper, the untouchable CEO, didn't see the storm forming in the one person who knew her best. Me. And I wasn't going to stop watching. Not now. Not ever. The gala hall buzzed with chatter and the clinking of glasses, but all I could focus on was Olivia. She moved like she owned every inch of the room, smile bright, eyes scanning the crowd. I followed closely behind, holding her clutch and pretending not to notice the way Lucas lingered at her side. "James, can you make sure everyone sees us arrive together?" Olivia whispered. "Of course," I said, adjusting her scarf. "Do you want me to announce your speech order?" "No, I'll handle it. You just stay near me." She winked at me, playful, but I felt the edge beneath it. Lucas elbowed her lightly. "Ready for the spotlight?" Olivia laughed, tilting her head. "Always. You should try it sometime, Lucas." I forced a smile. "I think you're doing fine without me stealing your thunder." She glanced at me, amusement flashing across her face. "Oh, James, you always know how to flatter." We stepped onto the stage, applause ringing around us. Mark was at the front, unaware of the tension radiating between Olivia and Lucas. He waved, smiling, completely oblivious. James, stay back, Olivia instructed once the crowd settled. I want this moment. I watched from the side as she turned to Lucas. You know, you really are indispensable, she said, voice low but teasing. Lucas grinned. I'll remember that, ma'am. The room erupted in laughter and I clenched my jaw. Indispensable? That was my title, not his. Olivia stepped closer, whispering something I couldn't catch, and suddenly, my stomach dropped. She kissed him. A public kiss. Bold, shocking. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some cheered, some froze. Mark's smile faltered for a moment, confusion clouding his features, but he didn't move. I stood rooted, fists clenched, heart hammering, and yet part of me applauded silently. She really thinks she can play this game, I muttered under my breath. Lucas's hand rested on her waist, tentative, almost hesitant. Olivia leaned in, whispering again before kissing him one more time. The applause grew louder. I forced a smile, clapping along, but inside I was calculating. Every eye on her, every reaction, every heartbeat of surprise, perfect. She's reckless, too reckless, and I'll make sure she pays. James? Olivia finally waved at me, snapping me back. Don't just stand there. Applaud. Absolutely, I said, keeping my tone light. You two are something else. Mark stepped closer. Olivia, is everything okay here? His voice was calm, measured, but I saw the suspicion flicker in his eyes. Of course, darling, Olivia said, pulling back from Lucas, flashing a dazzling smile. Just celebrating a little success with my team. I watched Mark's jaw tighten slightly. He doesn't know the half of it. Lucas winked at Olivia. You're really something, Olivia. I know, she said, whispering, just audible to me. That confidence, that arrogance, it's intoxicating but dangerous. I forced myself to stay neutral. You two make a compelling pair, I said quietly, though the words felt like poison in my mouth. Olivia laughed, brushing past me. James, you're so serious. Loosen up, enjoy the night. I wanted to tell her she's playing with fire, that this public display could ruin everything, but I stayed silent. Let her unravel herself. Let karma handle the rest. Later, as they mingled, Olivia leaned toward Lucas again. You'll handle the new client pitch next week, won't you? Of course, he said. I won't let you down. I stepped closer. James, do you have the notes for tomorrow? Yes, I said, handing them over. But my mind wasn't on the notes. My mind was on her. On every reckless choice she's making in front of everyone. Her empire, her boyfriend, and me, her loyal shadow. I clenched the papers. She doesn't see the storm coming, I whispered to myself. Lucas laughed quietly with Olivia, unaware that I was watching, calculating. One wrong move and everything collapses. And I'll be ready when it does. Tonight, she kissed her assistant in public. I applauded silently. Not because I was impressed. Because I knew this was her final mistake. The morning after the gala, the office felt different. Whispers floated around cubicles, stolen glances, hushed laughter. Everyone seemed to sense it. Olivia's bold kiss with Lucas had shaken the foundation, even if they didn't understand why. James? Olivia called from her office, voice tight. Did you hear what I told Mark last night? No, Olivia, I said, leaning against her desk. What happened? Nothing. Just nothing, she muttered, frowning. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her papers. I raised an eyebrow. You sure? You looked flustered at the gala. She waved it off. Don't be ridiculous. I was fine. Everything's fine. I nodded, letting the words hang in the air. Fine. That was her word for panic, worry, and secrets. Lucas appeared at the door. Good morning, Olivia. Everything ready for the client call? Of course, she said, brushing past me with that effortless charm. James, make sure Lucas has all the notes he needs. He's new, so I can't risk any mistakes. Yes, ma'am, I said, hiding my grin. No. He's too eager, too visible. Perfect for pushing her into trouble. As she left for her meeting, I pulled my laptop close. Emails, memos, spreadsheets, little cracks appeared everywhere. Unauthorized transactions, messages disguised as routine updates, subtle omissions. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, deciding which trail to follow first. Sophie called. A voice interrupted my thoughts. It was Jenna from accounting. She wants to meet with Olivia about, well, last night. I frowned. Sophie Reynolds. Olivia's old friend. Always polite, always careful. If she starts questioning Olivia, that could be a problem, or an opportunity. Later, Sophie appeared at Olivia's office, hesitant. Olivia, can we talk? Olivia's eyes narrowed. Sophie now? I'm busy. Please, Sophie said softly. It's important. I watched, silent, pretending to sort papers. Olivia sighed. Fine. What is it? You need to be careful, Sophie said. Everyone saw last night. And Lucas, he's not as harmless as you think. Olivia laughed nervously. Lucas? He's just an assistant. Stop worrying so much. I couldn't help but think, she's blind. Completely blind. I'm serious, Sophie said. You've been distracted, making decisions that aren't wise. You could lose more than you realize. Olivia waved her off. I've handled worse, Sophie. Trust me. Sophie glanced at me briefly. I returned the look with a polite nod, concealing my thoughts. She noticed my presence, my observant silence, and I think she's starting to wonder about my loyalties. Perfect. After Sophie left, I sat back, letting a slow smile form. 5 years I've worked for her, unnoticed, always efficient, always loyal. And still, she underestimated the smallest cracks. The smallest people. Lucas popped his head in. James, do you have a moment? Yes. What is it? He stepped in carrying a folder. I was reviewing the client files. Some numbers don't add up. Maybe it's nothing, but I thought you should see. I glanced at the spreadsheets. Interesting, I said slowly. You're right. Some allocations were off. Who handled these? Olivia, I think. But I don't want to get in trouble. I leaned closer. You're smart to notice. Just keep your focus. Learn from this. Lucas nodded, smiling, oblivious to the layers of observation surrounding him. Perfect. He's eager, ambitious, blind to the game I'm quietly orchestrating. By midday, rumors were swirling like wildfire. Employees whispered about Olivia's audacity at the gala. Some laughed, some frowned, some were outright shocked. But Olivia, she prowled through the office, polished and intimidating, scanning faces, reading reactions. I watched her carefully, taking note of every twitch, every micro-expression. She's unraveling, I whispered to myself, closing my laptop. Slowly, perfectly unraveling. I leaned back in my chair, thinking about the years I'd devoted to her, the loyalty I'd given unquestioningly. Anger simmered, yes, but so did strategy. Let her make the next mistake. Let her arrogance grow. And when the time came, karma would follow. Sophie might be an ally. Lucas might be the spark. Olivia is her own undoing. And I'll be here watching, steering, waiting. The unraveling has begun. And I'm ready for it. I found it tucked behind the quarterly reports, a series of transfers labeled as routine, but the amounts were staggering. My hands shook slightly as I scanned the numbers. So this is it, I whispered to myself. Olivia's secret ventures. Diverting funds, risking employees' jobs, and no one had a clue. James? Olivia's voice floated from the doorway. She leaned against the frame, eyes sharp. Still buried in reports? Yes, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Just checking last week's allocations. Her lips curled in that practiced smile. You're thorough, I'll give you that. I nodded, pretending to focus on the screen, but my mind raced. Should I expose her now? Publicly humiliate her? Or wait, let her arrogance and recklessness do the work for me? James, she said again, stepping closer. Is something wrong? You look distracted. Nothing, I replied. Just thinking about the client proposals. Olivia arched an eyebrow. Always thinking. Her eyes lingered on me, almost piercing. You've been unusually quiet lately. Is there something you're not telling me? I swallowed, keeping my expression neutral. No. Everything's fine. She straightened, tapping her finger on the desk. I need to know I can trust you. Lucas mentioned, you've been unusually detailed with reports lately. Are you trying to catch mistakes I didn't make? I paused, letting a tiny smile slip. I just want to make sure everything runs smoothly. That's my job, isn't it? Her eyes narrowed. Of course. But, James, don't let loyalty blind you. I nodded slowly, pretending to take her warning seriously, but inside I felt the thrill of control. She suspects me subtly. That makes her dangerous, but also predictable. Later, I cornered Lucas in the break room. Hey, can I see the investor files you handled yesterday? Sure, he said, handing over the folder. Why? Just checking numbers, I said. Olivia trusts you with a lot. You don't want mistakes slipping by, do you? Lucas frowned. Of course not. But, are you implying something? Only that attention to detail saves careers, I replied, keeping my tone light. He nodded, unaware that I'm piecing together every movement Olivia makes. Back at my desk, I replayed the gala scene in my head, her kiss, the applause, Lucas grinning. And now the evidence. Every reckless choice she's made, documented and undeniable. I could report it. I could end her career in minutes. But patience has its own power. James, did you see the email from the board? Olivia's voice startled me. I looked up. Yes, I did. Good. Make sure everything is perfect for the meeting. I can't afford any surprises. Her eyes flicked toward me, sharp, calculating. Do you understand? Absolutely, I said. But my mind drifted back to the files, the numbers, the choices. She doesn't know how fragile her empire is. That night I stayed late reviewing everything. Every transaction, every hidden message, every deviation from standard procedure. Each piece reinforced what I already knew. Her downfall isn't a question of if, but when. I caught myself whispering, do I expose her now, or let her unravel herself? The moral choice weighed on me. Revenge now would feel good, instant justice, but letting events play out, that could be far more satisfying. Watching her arrogance and manipulation implode, watching karma unfold perfectly, that's power. The office grew quiet, empty except for me. I leaned back, letting a slow, measured breath escape. Olivia thinks she's untouchable. She's tested my loyalty, trying to see if I'll slip. I won't. Not yet. I reviewed the financial trail one last time. Patience, I muttered. She's doing this to herself. And I'll be here when it all comes crashing down. I glanced at the clock. Tomorrow the board meeting will begin. Olivia will smile, bluff, charm her way through it. But one slip, one misstep, and the evidence I've gathered will make her regret every reckless decision. I leaned forward, opening a new document to record my observations, my plan. Each note was a step closer to certainty, each calculation a measure of control. Olivia's shadow stretched across the office, unknowingly exposing every weakness. I could have ended it today, exposed her, taken satisfaction immediately. But no. The real power lies in waiting, in letting her arrogance write the final chapter of her own story. I closed my laptop, heart steady, mind sharp. My choice was made. Not to act yet. Let her continue. Let her mistakes pile up. And when the moment comes, I'll strike, not out of anger but out of precise, measured justice. Olivia thinks she's in control. But control is an illusion. And I've learned to watch, to wait, and to decide when the final move is mine. I watched Olivia pace in her office, phone pressed to her ear. Her voice was sharp, demanding. No, I told you the budget is fine. Don't question my decisions. I leaned against the doorframe, pretending to review emails. Lucas approached, whispering. James. I might have shared a few projections with a competitor contact. I thought it might help me get noticed. I froze for a second, then smiled lightly. Interesting strategy. You know how Olivia feels about mistakes, right? He nodded, nervously tucking the folder under his arm. Yeah, I just... Careful, I interrupted. She might not appreciate this kind of initiative. He left, oblivious that I would subtly redirect every consequence back toward Olivia. One misstep, one leak, and she would bear the full weight. Patience. Always patience. Olivia slammed her phone down. How did this happen? How did they get these numbers? I stepped closer, calm, collected. Maybe someone didn't double-check the reports? Her eyes narrowed. James, I trusted you to keep things running smoothly. Did you notice anything off? I feigned surprise. Off? No, everything looked standard. You're impeccable as always. She gave me a tight smile, suspicious, but I let it pass. Just make sure it doesn't happen again. I can't have these mistakes reaching the board. Of course, I said, hiding the satisfaction rising in me. Her arrogance blinds her. She doesn't see the trap unfolding around her. Later, Mark called unexpectedly. Olivia, we need to talk about the discrepancies I'm seeing. The financials don't align with your reports. Mark, Olivia stammered, voice faltering. I stayed quiet, pretending to sort papers. Let her answer him. Let her unravel. I want full transparency, Mark said firmly. I trusted you, Olivia. Don't make me regret it. Yes, Mark. Absolutely, she said, forcing composure. I smirked internally. She's on the defensive now. Every choice she made, every reckless move, is stacking against her. Sophie appeared at the office, her expression tense. Olivia, we need to talk. Seriously. Olivia waved her off. Sophie, I'm busy. Can this wait? No. Not this time, Sophie said firmly. James, could you give us a minute? I nodded, stepping out. In the hall, I whispered to myself, this is perfect. Through the door, I heard Sophie's voice. Olivia, the public perception is shifting. Employees are whispering. Lucas is involved in something shady, and you're not handling it well. People are noticing. Olivia's laugh was strained. You think I care about whispers? I make decisions based on strategy, Sophie. Strategy? Strategy? Sophie's tone hardened. Or recklessness. This could ruin everything you've built. Olivia hesitated. I imagined the words hitting her like bricks. I stayed silent, letting the confrontation play out, each sentence tightening the pressure. Later, Lucas returned, acting casual. James, everything okay with Olivia? Better than okay, I said mildly. She's navigating some challenges. He frowned. You think she'll notice what I did? I shook my head. No. But the ripple effects, they'll find her eventually. She's the one in charge. He looked uneasy and I let him leave, knowing the leak will point directly back to her. Every action she takes now, every decision, is a step closer to her downfall. By evening, Olivia's phone buzzed incessantly. Calls from Mark, from board members, from anxious employees. Each ring, each message, each urgent inquiry added to her stress. She paced, muttering, glancing at me as if wondering whether I was silently judging. James, she said finally, voice tight. I need you. Everything is falling apart. Can you fix this? I nodded slowly. I'll do what I can. But you'll have to manage some of it yourself. Responsibility has to be yours. She looked at me, eyes wide, desperation slipping through the cracks of her polished facade. I thought I could control it all. I didn't see it coming. I let her stew in that realization, savoring the mix of panic and arrogance unraveling at once. Alone later, I reviewed the day's events, the spiraling consequences she created herself. Every reckless choice, every overconfidence, every mismanaged secret funneled back to her. And I maintained the mask of loyalty, silent, calculated, watching the collapse take shape. Olivia thinks she's untouchable, invincible, always in control. But karma is a patient teacher, and tonight I saw the first lessons landing. I leaned back, allowing a slow smile. The pieces are falling into place. The storm she created for herself is gaining strength, and I'm here, steady, unseen, orchestrating the silence before the final crash. She's unraveling, and I've never felt more alive. I walked into the boardroom and froze. Olivia stood at the head of the table, face pale, hands gripping the edge of the desk. Around her, the board members whispered, papers shuffled, tension thick. I stayed near the door, silent, watching. Olivia, Chairman Davis said, voice calm but firm. We've reviewed the financials. There are serious discrepancies, unauthorized transactions, and evidence of mismanagement. Her lips trembled. I can explain. These were strategic investments. I was protecting the company's future. Mark stepped forward, fury in his eyes. Protecting the company? Or protecting yourself, Olivia? I trusted you. Mark, it's not what you think. You've lied to me, to the board, to everyone, he snapped. I felt a twinge of something, satisfaction, yes, but also a flicker of pity. 5 years I'd worked for her, and now she's unraveling publicly. James, she said suddenly, her voice shaking. You knew. I noticed, I admitted softly. Everything. But I didn't act. I wanted to see how it would play out. Her eyes widened. You've been letting this happen? Yes, I said. Calm, measured. Patience sometimes teaches more than confrontation. She glanced at the board, panic rising. Please, don't suspend me. I can fix this. Chairman Davis shook his head. Suspension is immediate. You will have no access to company resources until further notice. Your conduct endangered employees, investors, and our reputation. This is non-negotiable. I watched as the realization hit her. Her empire, built on charm and manipulation, was crumbling in front of her. Mark's phone buzzed. He glanced down, then turned to her. This relationship is over, Olivia. I can't be tied to someone I can't trust. I gave you everything and you betrayed it. Mark, please. I love you, she pleaded, voice breaking. Love? He laughed bitterly. You don't know the meaning. Goodbye. He walked out, leaving her standing alone. Lucas appeared at the doorway, briefcase in hand. Olivia. I need to move on. I can't rely on you to protect my career anymore. She looked at him, panic and disbelief mixing. Lucas, please. You can't leave. I can fix this. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I have to think about myself now. He left without another word. I stepped closer, heart heavy but resolute. Olivia, it's done. You've created this situation yourself. Her gaze fell on me, tears streaming. I trusted you. All these years. I thought you were loyal. How could you watch? I was always loyal, I said. But loyalty doesn't mean ignorance. I let you reveal yourself. And now, you're facing the consequences. She sank into the chair, burying her face in her hands. I didn't mean for this. I just wanted to control everything. Control is an illusion, I said softly. You can manipulate numbers, people, even appearances. But you can't control karma or choices. Her sobs filled the room, raw and unfiltered. I remembered the early days, the ambition, the charm, the relentless pursuit of power. And now it had all collapsed. James, she whispered, voice barely audible. What do I do now? I crouched slightly to meet her gaze. You face it. You accept it. Learn from it if you can. That's all anyone can do after mistakes this big. She shook her head, defeated. I don't deserve any of this? Deserve? I repeated softly. Maybe not. But your actions created the results. Regret is the only thing left, and even that is earned. Silence stretched between us. I wanted to comfort her, maybe soften the blow, but I knew it wouldn't be fair. She needed to feel the weight of every decision she made. Minutes passed. Olivia finally looked up, eyes red, resigned. I see now. I really see. Yes, I said quietly. You do. And it's late, but it's real. That's the only chance you have to grow from this. She nodded, almost imperceptibly. Thank you for not exposing me sooner. I understand patience now. I gave a small, sad smile. Sometimes watching is the hardest lesson. Alone later, I walked through the empty office, the remnants of her empire echoing around me. The board's decision, Mark's departure, Lucas's betrayal, all of it was complete. Yet in the quiet, I felt the strange mix of victory and lingering empathy. I paused by her office door, glancing at the papers scattered across her desk, the notes she'd once clutched with confidence. Everything she had controlled was gone. And I survived it all. I leaned back in my chair, thinking of the years I'd devoted to her, the loyalty, the patience, the careful observation. Justice had been served, not with vengeance but with time, patience, and allowing her choices to speak louder than any accusation. Olivia's downfall was complete. And though a part of me ached for what she lost, I knew this was necessary. This was the cost of arrogance, of recklessness, of ignoring consequences. The office was silent, empty except for me. And I realized, even in triumph, growth and reflection were as important as victory itself. I straightened my shoulders. The storm had passed. Lessons had been learned for both of us. And life would continue differently for everyone involved. The office was quieter than usual, almost empty. I sat at my desk, glancing at the skyline outside the window. Months had passed since Olivia's downfall, and yet the echo of her chaos still lingered in my mind. Lucas was gone. No one knew where he'd vanished. Mark had moved on, probably wiser, though still bitter. And Olivia, her name was now whispered with pity or scorn, never admiration. James? Jenna from accounting broke my thoughts. Can you help me with the new budget? The board asked for adjustments. Of course, I said, standing. Let's go through it together. As we walked, I muttered to myself, quiet enough that no one would hear, everything is different now. Everything. Jenna frowned. You're quieter than usual. Something on your mind? Just thinking about how fragile reputations are, I replied lightly. How quickly everything can change. She nodded, accepting the answer. Most people didn't understand what had happened, or maybe they didn't care. I did. I'd watched Olivia fall, piece by piece, and I'd learned that patience could be more powerful than any confrontation. Later, Sophie appeared in my office. James, I wanted to check in, she said softly. How are you holding up after everything? I leaned back in my chair. Better than expected. The company is stabilizing. Employees are adjusting. Life moves on. She hesitated, then asked, and, personally? You must feel something after all that happened. I smiled faintly. It's complicated. Satisfaction, yes. But also, a sense of melancholy. Witnessing the collapse of someone you once worked for, someone you knew intimately, it leaves a mark. Sophie nodded knowingly. It's strange, isn't it? The mix of relief and guilt. Yes, I said. I never expected it to feel like this. I thought revenge or justice would bring only triumph. But it brought reflection. And scars. She studied me for a moment. Do you regret it? I shook my head. No. I regret the time wasted before I realized patience was the weapon. But not the outcome. Karma, it's slower than we think but more precise. Later, I walked past Olivia's old office. It was empty now, papers cleared, decorations gone. I paused outside the door, fingers tracing the edge of the frame. For a moment, I imagined her sitting there, plotting, smiling, unaware of her fate. I whispered almost to myself, "You wanted control, and you lost everything because of it." A voice startled me. "James?" It was Lucas suddenly appearing in the doorway. I hadn't expected him. He looked older, wearier, but there was a hint of amusement in his eyes. "Lucas," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "I didn't expect to see you here." "I wanted to see how things settled," he said. "Olivia, she's gone. Mark's moved on. And you're still here at the top of it all." I raised an eyebrow. "At the top? Maybe. But I didn't gain this from ambition alone. I gained it from patience, observation, and letting her own decisions write her ending." He chuckled softly. "I guess you were always the smartest one in the room." I shrugged. "Maybe. Or maybe I just learned to wait. That's all." He studied me, then nodded. "It's strange, seeing you now and knowing everything that happened. You look different." I smiled faintly. "Stronger, wiser, scarred. All of it." He shook his head, silently acknowledging the weight of the past months. Then he turned and left, vanishing again like a ghost. Alone, I returned to my desk. Files, memos, schedules, it all seemed mundane now, yet each task carried the quiet satisfaction of order restored. And yet, inside, there was still a twinge of emptiness. The intensity of betrayal, the thrill of watching karma unfold, the loss of what once was, it stayed with me. I whispered to myself, "I've changed. The man I was 5 years ago, he wouldn't have survived this. He wouldn't have had the patience, the strength, the clarity." And yet, part of me missed the old chaos, the pulse of danger, the way every decision could tilt the world on its axis. Life was quieter now, more predictable. Safe. But safer didn't feel complete. My phone buzzed, a reminder for the next board meeting. I smiled wryly. The work never ends, does it? Decisions, strategies, consequences, always circling back. I leaned back in my chair, letting the calm settle around me. I thought of Olivia one last time. She had learned, too late, the cost of arrogance, the fragility of trust, the power of consequences. And I had survived it, carrying forward lessons no one else could teach me. The office lights dimmed as the evening approached. I glanced at the skyline once more, reflecting on months of chaos, betrayal, and resolution. Everything had changed. Everyone had moved on in some way. I whispered softly, almost to the empty room, "Life continues, quietly, unpredictably. And I'll be ready for whatever comes next." The calm of the office wrapped around me. Silence settled, but it wasn't empty. It was full of lessons, of patience, of reflection. I had watched the storm, and now I was left with the aftermath, stronger and scarred, aware that every choice has a price. And in that silence I felt complete.